What is up, Avalanche fans, and welcome on into the latest Mile High Sports AMA. You're stuck with me, no lovely Kim Becker. It is Anilo Piro here at the Mile High Sports Studios, filling in for Kim. Hope you guys are doing well out there, but the show must go on. We got Arif Dean, who is now back from the road trip, plenty to recap, and kind enough to give us a few minutes of his time as we cycle through and touch base on the latest in the world of Colorado Avalanche hockey. Arif, my man, what's going on, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be back, and it's been an eventful week or two for the Avalanche. Just really rocking and rolling.
Yeah, that is one way to put it for sure. And I sit in the behind the scenes and kind of help with some of the production, a lot of these AMAs. And 2 weeks ago, it was like, is this team going to make the playoffs? Like, is this team even good? And now here we are with a 5-game win streak, 3 of those coming on the road. And it feels like there's been a reversal of the fortunes here a little bit as well. So let's dive on into it. As always, every week, be sure to send your questions into Arif. You can find him on social media at RunRightArif. I'm at Media by AP if you want to follow me along the way. But be sure to also follow us, Mile High Sports, across all the social media platforms. Check us out, milehighsports.com. And I got a few of the big old magazines behind me as well. So be sure to pick that up if you see it out and about in the wild. But first and foremost, how was the road trip? You get back safely. How were things?
It was great. Yeah. The Avalanche, they went to Calgary, Vancouver, and Seattle. I only did Vancouver and Seattle, both just electric cities, awesome places to be, completely different hockey cultures. Vancouver is very invested, one of the bigger Canadian markets. They know everything that's going on there. So the Canucks have had, I'm not sure how much you've read up on it. They've had this crazy saga with their head coach, Bruce Boudreau.
Yeah.
And it's been a soap opera if I've ever seen one. And the way that, and this is not a knock on Denver fan bases or any other fan bases, but the way that 18, 19,000, 20,000, however many fans fit into Rogers Arena, not a single Fairweather fan. Every single person's aware, and I'm generalizing obviously, but every single person is aware of what was going on with Bruce Boudreau, the way he was being treated by management and ownership, and everybody was aware of the situation. Whereas over here, you might run into some fans that are just there to, grab a beer with some buddies. And, after work, I got these tickets. Let me go to the game. And Nathan who, Kale who, I don't know these guys. I'm just here to have fun. So Vancouver was very much a fan base and a game where every single person in there is like me. They know the ins and outs of their team. They know the ins and outs of their fans, of the division, of the conference, of the standings. And then Seattle, polar opposites, a brand new team, a brand new market, just their second season. And I love what they're doing there because it's this big, beautiful arena with a lot of people that are kind of clueless on hockey. Again, generalizing, but they even had during one of the intermissions, they had a segment where they were teaching people what icing is and things like that.
Wow.
Which again, I'm not a get off my lawn kind of person. I think it's great. It's wonderful to see that because that's a growing fan base and a team that really has taken off this year and is fun and exciting to watch. And yeah, it couldn't be 2 more different cities and 2 more different kinds of fan bases, but just a ton of fun to be there for both.
How far apart are the 2 cities?
3.5-hour bus ride. That's what me and other Avalanche media members did. We got on a bus after the Vancouver game and hit it to Seattle.
Wow, so pretty close in a proximity sense. And yes. I think Seattle, is going to develop hopefully into this hotbed of hockey fans and, get some good tradition out there over some time as well. So that's exciting. But what was more exciting is the way that the Avalanche played in those games on the road. They won all 3 games on this road trip, but they currently find themselves on a 5-game winning streak. And after that dreadful 3-2 loss against the Chicago Blackhawks, they've really flipped a switch. 7-0 over Ottawa, 6-3 over Detroit, and then they go on the road at Calgary 4-1, at Vancouver 4-1, and then finishing up the roadie with a 2-1 victory at the Seattle Kraken. So let's get started there. Obviously, you were on the road for the last 2 games, covering it for us at milehighsports.com. I mean, how do we go from a team, like I said, 2-3 weeks ago, we're talking about they're not going to make the playoffs, what's going on? The sky is falling, for lack of a better phrase, to a team that now seems to, have had their head on straight.
I don't know how they did it, but I know that they could have been, we've known all along that they could do it, but I don't know how they did it, but it's pretty much a flip was switched. They
convenient.
A switch was flipped. I said that the wrong way. I always do. A switch was flipped, and they are a completely different team now. The biggest issue when they were going through that stretch where they were struggling to win games, and even if you remember before the holiday break, they had won 3 or 4 straight games, but it was overtime shootout. They're playing tie hockey games late in the 3rd period. Cale Makar's playing 30 minutes. Mikko Rantanen and Nathan McKinnon are up over 25 minutes, way too much ice time. what they needed is what they finally got. And I think I mentioned this on the last AMA we did with Cam, was the Avalanche need a game where they're up 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, and they can start to rest their top guys and just roll their lines. And instead of having the bottom lines playing 3 or 4 minutes, let them play 10, 11, because you got the game in the bag. No point of, overplaying your top guys. Lo and behold, they go out, they take a 2-0 lead over Ottawa in the first period, a 5-0 lead after the second period, a 7-0 victory. Then they get the Red Wings 2 nights later, a 3-0 lead after the first period, 5-0 after the second period. They win 6-3. The Red Wings got goals in garbage time. Then they go into Calgary, 3-0 after the first period, 4-1 victory. Then they go to Vancouver, 2-0 lead, 1-0 lead after the first, 3-0 after the second, 4-1 victory. And then they go to Seattle, and it was probably the only game of this 5-game stretch where it went down to the wire, and it obviously ended in the shootout. So in all 4 of those games, Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, JT Compher, obviously Makar's missed the last 3, but the ones he played, Devon Taves, Arturi Lehkonen, Evan Rodriguez, they were able to really manage these guys' minutes because it was 5-0. It was 5-0. Against the Sens, they scored 7 goals. The other team didn't score anything. Against the Wings, they scored 5 before the other team got 1. They scored 3 against Calgary before the other team got 1. They scored 3 against Vancouver before the other team got 1. Like, they were building big leads before the other team even got a goal, giving them the ability to rest their top guys. There was no, outside of Seattle, 1-1 late in the third period, 4-4 late in the third period, where you got to keep rolling your top guys to win a game. And that was exactly what they needed, because now not only are they on a winning streak, but they're doing it dominantly. They've won in many different ways. The Seattle one was a little bit different, and especially on the second of a back-to-back, it was great. Their top guys are rested. Their top guys are feeling good. They finally have 3 consistent forward lines. That was something that I talked to Jared about today, and he was super excited about. And they look and feel like the Avalanche of old. The panic of 10, 12, 13 days ago seems to have withered away.
And it was real panic. Like I'm going to call a spade here. Look, Kim is doing these dailies typically and doing the AMAs. I like hockey, but I have nowhere near the knowledge as you do. Kim knows a lot. And even I started to look at the standings a little bit and seeing how they were playing. And I was like, okay, like it's been prolonged. It's been quite a bit of time. Like maybe there's a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover with this team, but to their credit, and we'll see what they can do moving forward. They got a game against Washington on the 24th. We'll see how that shakes out.
Yep.
But I mean, you say they kind of flipped the switch here a little bit. Is it as like, I'm not trying to force you to give me a reason, but like, is it MacKinnon? Is it like there's got to be something tangible? Is it the way that Bednar's talking to the guys, or is it simply a breath of fresh air, a breath of confidence that finally got instilled into this team?
So Bednar won't admit it, but players have admitted it. After the Calgary game, it was enough is enough. Not Calgary, Chicago. After the Chicago game, there was kind of this sense of like, what the heck are we doing? We got to fix this. And they came out the very next game and they did exactly that. I remember speaking with a big national reporter at ESPN on my way to the game on Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago against the Ottawa Senators. And he said, I don't know if the Avalanche are going to make the playoffs. And I said, come on. As soon as they get one under their belt, they get one of those dominating victories, they can go on a run. And here we are, 22 goals for, 5 goals against in the last 5 games. And 3 of them in garbage time to the Red Wings when they took their foot off the pedal. Like, they are smoking teams right now. And it's 6 goals against, not 5, but they are smoking teams right now. It is not even close. And that's what's good about this, because now they got Washington on the 24th. They got the Blues on the the Ducks on the 26th and the Blues on the 28th. 3 extremely winnable games, especially the Ducks game. No excuse there. That team has 4 regulation wins. We're 47 games into the season. You win these 3 games, or even 2 of them, but they can take 3. You got a 7-1 or 8-0 stretch heading into that 10 or 12 days off for the All-Star break and the bye week, and you're feeling dang good about yourself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's been a complete, reverse of the fortunes here. And I think back to, you and JG on the podcast. I know I've had you guys on the radio show as well. And I remember you guys had some thoughts about like, it was going to take this team maybe a little while to hit their stride. And, they didn't come out of the new year all that well, but this isn't surprising to me, and I don't want to beat a dead horse in regards to the short offseason, winning the cup, how that kind of impacts a team, not having Landeskog, which we'll get into here in a second, but they were going to hit a bump in the road. And maybe that bump in the road was a little bit more prolonged than some people had hoped, but this Avalanche team that we've seen over the last 5 games, Eric, is, I think, more accustomed to what the Avalanche fan have been expecting. Are they going to be maybe as good, have as high of a ceiling as they did last year when they won the cup? Maybe not. We'll see what they could do at the deadline, make some moves, all that kind of stuff as well. But at the end of the day, it's just nice to see them playing good, cohesive hockey again.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, in the end, the regular season is the regular season for a reason. It's not there for you to play your best hockey. It's for you to, figure out what you got, get some chemistry going, and get rolling in time for the playoffs. And that's
Right.
ultimately the Avalanche know that. I mean, look, the team to beat right now, well, not the team to beat, but the team to kind of mimic right now is the Tampa Bay Lightning. In 2019, the Tampa Bay Lightning tied an NHL record winning 62 out of 82 games, and they got swept and embarrassed in the first round by the number 8 seed, the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Remember that, yeah.
They swept a whole bunch of awards and went home empty-handed. During the COVID season, they were second place in the West. They went to the Stanley Cup final. They won the Stanley Cup. In 2021, the very next year, in their division, they were third in their division. They went to the Stanley Cup final. They won the Stanley Cup. And in 2022, they were once again third in their division. They went to the Stanley Cup final. They won the Stanley Cup. Basically, what I'm saying is Tampa Bay rarely has home ice advantage in any series, because they know after 2019, when they basically put their entire energy and focus on that regular season, that the goal isn't to win every game in the regular season. The goal is to make sure that you're ready to go for the playoffs, which is why my biggest concern the last couple of weeks wasn't that the Avalanche are outside of a playoff spot, which sounds stupid because you need to be in a playoff spot to play in the playoffs. My biggest concern was, even in the games they were winning, Cale Makar was over 30 minutes. Nathan MacKinnon over 25. Mikko Rantanen over 27. Like, forwards are not supposed to play that many minutes.
Right.
JT Compher's ice time was up 3.5 minutes more than last year. Nathan MacKinnon's was a career high. Devon Taves was a career high. Evan Rodriguez was a dude signed for $2 million to be a depth forward. He's playing 25 minutes. Like, all of these guys were playing well beyond their minutes, where it's like, okay, great. The Avalanche are going to figure this out. They're going to squeak into the playoffs, and they're going to be exhausted. And that was the biggest concern for me. It was about making sure that you're ready to rock for the playoffs, something they were able to do last year. And now they're feeling like they're getting toward that position again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they continue to progress along this season. And, you want to be playing your best hockey going into the playoffs, of course. And, it's not too far away, but we'll see what they can do as we move forward. But all right, let's cycle in through a couple of these questions here. And let's start with ice time and kind of some thoughts on a couple of players that are currently not playing for the Avalanche. The question that you get every week, the question that the fans want to know, they're beating down the door. Do you have any idea? Have we had any update, anything you can give people just to grasp onto regarding Gabriel Landeskog? Is there any update on that front in regards to when the captain might be able to come back?
No idea. That's to put it lightly. Look, that's what we're getting from this team right now, and that's the truth. The only thing that we continue to hear is the Avalanche expect all of their injured guys to be back before the playoffs. That includes Gabe Landeskog, Bowen Byram, Josh Manson. Darren Helm is the only one that's a little bit of a question mark, but that even includes him because, in the NHL, the salary cap, the way it works, if you have a player, and this is something Tampa Bay took advantage of, because it's within their right in 2021, if you have a player who's injured throughout the entire regular season, you can put him on long-term injury reserve. The salary cap comes back to you. So if Gabe Landeskog, and then when it gets time to the playoffs, salary cap no longer matters. So basically what that means is if we knew for sure Gabe Landeskog was going to be gone until mid-April, late April, after the playoffs begin, you can put him on LTIR, long-term injury, and use his $7 million to go out and trade for a Bo Horvat or a Patrick Kane or Ryan O'Reilly or whoever. And then when Gabe Landeskog comes back in the playoffs, well, now you have Gabe Landeskog and this guy. You're well over the salary cap, but it's the playoffs. Players don't get paid in the playoffs. Doesn't matter. The Avalanche don't know yet if they're going to be able to do that. Right now, the idea and the thought is that Gabe Landeskog should be back before the playoffs. Jared Bednar gave us an update 3-4 weeks ago, and I think I talked about on one of these AMAs with Kim, is that the original prognosis for Gabe was a 3-month injury around October 1920, which means he should have been back during that road trip that I was just on. What ended up happening was he had a setback sometime during, not a setback, but a new timeline is what Jared said. Sometime during his recovery, he had a new timeline, and he is on the route of, recovering on that new timeline. What's that new timeline? Wouldn't tell us. When did this new timeline come out? Also wouldn't tell us. All we know is there was a new timeline, and they are confident he's going to be back before the playoffs. So that's all we know until things change. That's all we could say. What we also do know is that he has been recovering outside of Denver. Where that is, who knows? But this is a very normal thing in the NHL. You see it all over probably other sports as well. Players that are recovering from, big injuries and long injuries like this, they go and do their rehab in other places, find other doctors, other clinics, other rehab centers. He's not in Denver, and that's all we know.
You got to love hockey in the fantastic amount of information
Oof.
we get about players and injuries. And
Lower body injury, upper body injury.
Yep. You got to love it. But that brings us to another injury. And one, you bring up ice time, and that involves Cale Makar, right? We know that Cale Makar had been playing just a ton of minutes, ton of ice time and whatnot. And I had compared on the radio show with myself and talking to others, in the hoops world a couple of years ago, like Jamal Murray, there was this whole conversation before he got hurt of like, rest him. He's playing so much, like just give him a night off, ends up getting hurt. Not a direct correlation, but similar thought process I had with Cale Makar. I know nobody takes a night off in hockey, but like I almost felt like you needed to protect Cale Makar from Cale Makar for a little bit. He ends up now on the injury report, hasn't played in a couple of games. We know how important he is to this team. Obviously a young player, but an integral part to this squad. Any update, any thoughts? I'm seeing here on ESPN, he hopes to return to the lineup prior to the All-Star break. Is that realistic?
Yeah, very much so. So Cale Makar missed the Calgary game. That one was the one we knew he was going to miss. The very next game against Vancouver, he took morning skate in Vancouver. And then after the game, we were waiting around for him in the locker room. And, usually Avalanche don't let injured players talk. That's the thing they've had. It's a rule they've had since 1995. Injured players don't talk. We were waiting around for him in the locker room in Vancouver. And then the PR person came and told us Cale's not going to be available today. We said, is he playing? He said, no, he's out. So that was confirmed. When we asked Jared about Cale in Vancouver, this is the Friday game, we said, Cale, is there anything new to report? He said, no, he's not going to play today. We said, is he an option tomorrow? He said, well, he was skating this morning. That should tell you all you need to know, which basically means Cale's going to play in Seattle. Seattle comes around again, no practice, just a morning skate, no morning skate, just a pregame warm-up. He takes the ice during the pregame warm-up. He's listed on the roster sheet as a player, and Andreas Englund is a scratch. And then before the puck drop, Andreas Englund was listed as a player. Cale Makar was listed as a scratch. Asked Jared about it post-game. I told him, was there anything that went wrong with Cale's pregame warm-up, or was it more of a situation of let him skate? If he feels great, he plays. If not, he doesn't. And he said it's the latter. Okay. Today, after practice, which Cale Makar was once again a full participant, Cale Makar spoke to media. He talked to media, which is not something you usually see. And the exact quote, this is one of the quotes that he had, was, it's just taking a little bit of time. It's tough. I want to be playing, but I've got to take the right precautions right now, especially. I was hoping maybe to play in the last game. Maybe tomorrow, we'll see, but there's no call right now for me. I really want to play tomorrow. It's just going to depend on how I wake up and how everything is feeling. Obviously, he's talking about the game on Tuesday. Now, the biggest thing right now with Cale Makar is, the biggest thing right now with the team in reference to Cale Makar is the Avalanche have won 5 straight games. They are feeling good about themselves. They have a good thing going. They went on a 3-game road trip without Makar, won all 3 games, surrendered 3 goals in the process, and scored 10 of them. When you're doing this good, when you're feeling good about yourself, you don't got to force these guys to play injured. Because I believe me, if the Avalanche were on a 5-game losing streak, Cale Makar's playing that game in Seattle, and he's playing the game against the Capitals on the 24th. The fact that Cale Makar is able to take those precautions says to me that the Avalanche are fine with it because they're feeling good about themselves, which again goes back to the original point. You just got to be ready for the playoffs. And this is one of those things that you can do because you feel good about where your team is at.
The old saying is winning cures all. And when you're playing winning hockey, as you alluded to, you can afford to do something like this. And
winning cures all except for Gabe Landeskog. Doesn't cure that.
Right. Exactly. Yet. So, but at the end of the day, you bring up a great point, is as long as he's back and ready to go, give him, a few games, more than a few, but, give him ample time to ramp up before the postseason. You just want to make sure he's as close to 100% as possible for that run, because we know how good this Avalanche can be when they have Gabe, when they have McKinnon and Makar as well. And, I'm excited to see how the rest of the season progresses. Like, felt like we were in a little bit of a lull, like right after the holidays, some people don't want to go to work after the holidays. Like, feels like that was kind of the case with the Avalanche here a little bit as well. So we'll see how it shakes out. But state of the Avs, Cale Makar looks like he's coming back. Landeskog, we don't know, but at least we know that this Avalanche team is playing well. My man, before we get on out of here, what do you want to leave the listener with? I'm treating this like my radio show. Any words of wisdom, anything you want to get off your chest? What should the Avalanche fan know this week and when they watch their team and keep up with them at milehighsports.com?
I think the big thing is the game on the 24th is going to be a lot of fun. Having the Washington Capitals in town. Alex Ovechkin might not play, but the reason why I specify that game in particular is because we got 2 guys returning to Denver for the first time since winning the Stanley Cup. You got goaltender Darcy Kemper And you got our man himself, the guy that dropped the cup skating into the circle to take that picture, Nicholas Aube-Kubel. I am so excited to see what kind of ovation those two guys are going to get, because we've seen Jack Johnson come back. We've seen Burakovsky. We're about to see these two. All that leaves are two more. Nico Sturm, who's going to be here in March. And next month in February, the return of Nazem Kadri is going to be electric. But first, we got Darcy Kemper. We got Nicholas Aube-Kubel. These guys will forever live in fame in Denver, being part of that team. And I'm so excited to see what kind of ovation those two guys get.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. Arif will have it covered for us online, milehighsports.com, along with the podcast with JJ, Hockey Mountain High. They do a fantastic job. And weekly right here on the Mile High Sports AMA featuring Mr. Dean. You could follow him on Twitter at RunRightArif. I'm at Media by AP. And Kim will be back next week. I promise you won't have to be stuck with me any longer. But Arif, my man, thank you so much for a few minutes. Let's see what happens with this Avalanche team. And just nice to have them playing good hockey again. So yeah, I'm sure it's absolutely a lot better to cover a good team than a bad team.
Yeah, the locker room's a lot more looser, and people are a lot more willing to give you good quotes because they're winning games.
Yeah, no, I understand how that goes. All right, that is going to do it for us. For Arif Dean, I am Anilo Piro. This has been the latest Mile High Sports Colorado Avalanche AMA. Be sure to check it out next week as well, and follow along with Arif, milehighsports.com, and on social media at RunRightArif. Enjoy the games this weekend, and go Let's go.